You're listening to the Parents of Hardworking Teens podcast, episode 58. The idea that results don't matter, and that also, to many students, they do. This is going to be a big one. Let's go. I'm Katie Jones, and with over 15 years in education as an award-winning high school teacher, international external examiner, and as a study coach, I've helped thousands of students skyrocket their results and confidence. And this podcast is where I share all my insights, tactics, and tips with you, the parent, so you can help your hardworking teen get happy, smart, and successful in their study, and have you both enjoy the journey along the way. This is the Parents of Hardworking Teens podcast. Hello, very important parents. I really hope that you're doing great, and I hope that you are ready for a little bit of a rant and what I'm sure is going to turn into a longer than usual episode today. Because to me, this is an important topic, and it's one that I'm thinking about more and more at the moment. And it's this idea that results aren't important, and that students are being told not to stress because results don't matter, and how we as adults are being urged to tell this to teenagers and to make sure that students know that. And honestly, right now, and I am very open to your thoughts and opinions on this, genuinely, please do email support@rocksolidstudy.com or leave a comment wherever you are listening to this. But honestly, right now, I don't 100% agree with that. And actually, I never have. I've never told a student, your results don't matter. Though I absolutely understand the intent behind it. And I can totally get on board with that. That we want to protect students' mental health. We want to make sure that teenagers know that their worth as a human is not related to their grades. But I just don't feel that a blanket statement like your results don't matter is the most positive or most constructive way to go about presenting that intent. And I've had a couple of conversations and situations recently that have spurred me on to share this opinion on the podcast. And it is just that. It is just my opinion. And I'm sure that there will be people out there who disagree. And I am really open to all of that. This isn't right or wrong. And in fact, this whole idea of extremes at one end of the scale or the other is really the key issue I have with all of this, which I will get into in a moment. But I want to share this because if you or your teen do value results or scores on a test or grades in a report card in some way, shape, or form, or see that they do impact your teen's self-belief or identity, then I hope that it might be helpful to you to hear that there is someone out there, i.e. me, who doesn't think that that is all bad. That I think it's okay to attach some value to that. And to be clear, I am no teen psychologist. I'm no parenting or teen expert. I don't even have my own children. I just have my own experiences. And specifically, those are having worked with teenagers in high school across the UK and Australia and online internationally in Rock Solid Study for over 17 years. And from when I was a teenager who did want to do well at school, but was almost embarrassed by that. I would certainly never share it out loud. And as an educator now who is committed to coaching and training, supporting other students who kind of feel in that same boat. So this is not going to be one of my how-to or here are the 3 steps types of episode. But that's because I think this is a really nuanced topic and that it is different for everyone, because I totally acknowledge, and yes, I do agree that results don't matter, but also they do. And maybe that's okay. Maybe it's possible that both can be true, because if we really think about it, no, results don't matter. Your teen's exam results, their ATAR score, their ranking, whatever it is, they don't matter. In the same way as it doesn't actually matter which team wins the league. It doesn't really matter if the pianist messes up their concert performance, or if the student doesn't get into their top choice of uni, or what we are having for dinner. I mean, none of it really matters, but some things do matter to some people, and for all different reasons. Having things that we care about or want to work towards or achieve is what makes life interesting. It's what makes us as people, as individuals, unique. It's what gives us purpose. And so maybe it's okay that for some students, or even, dare I say, for all students in some way and to different degrees, that results do matter, at least a little bit, or even a lot to some students. And not because they affect their self-worth, their worth as a person, or define them, and all of these other things that we have drilled into us with all of the messages about how results don't matter every year, particularly around exam time or results time, but simply because some students want to work hard, and some students want to take the direct path to uni, and some just want to give things their very best, even if they have no idea what they're going to do next, or they want to go after a goal and just enjoy the experience of success when they achieve it, and for it to be okay if they don't achieve it. I think that the issue here is that things are talked about at the extremes. And as I've thought more and more about this recently, I think this is my overall key point, that there could well be, and I think there is, a healthy middle ground where we can have the positives that happen when we do put meaning or importance on something, and we can also minimize the negatives that arise when we sit at one extreme, putting zero importance on anything, or at the other extreme, when we make everything about a certain result. So my question really is, if we know and accept that results are not everything, and we are aware of the dangers for some students who feel that for them, perhaps they are, and that is causing them harmful levels of stress and anxiety, the question is going straight to the other extreme to try to counter that by declaring results don't matter or results aren't important the best reaction? Is that the best action to take? Especially when, kind of in brackets, they're also still being told to try their best. Results don't matter, but still try your best. Does that even really make sense? I just feel like it's gone too far. Every year around exam results day, there are posts on social media and articles in newspapers about successful people who were high school dropouts, and that numbers on a page don't define who you are. And there's the head teacher who writes to parents to reassure them that there is more to being a human than NAPLAN or SATs results. All of which are absolutely true. I don't think any of us would disagree. There is nothing wrong with any of those things. But again, I believe there is an and here. That yes, that is true, and there is also value in working hard, in doing your best, having goals, wanting to achieve, and yes, even value in getting good grades. There is value in that for some, or I would even argue for many students. We just can't operate from these absolutes. There is a scale in between. Even the language is extreme when we look at dissecting some of these common statements. Results aren't everything. Results don't matter. So yes, when a student feels like their results are everything, that is when we see them putting themselves under huge amounts of stress and pressure, working themselves to the bone. And we see the harm that this does to their mental and emotional health, sometimes also their physical health as well. But I just don't love the idea that something which is part of almost every teenager's life, their education and the assessment, the exams that come along with that, saying that doesn't matter. I know that there is more to school life than the academics. I know there is the social side and developing themselves as a person and leadership and teamwork and all of those things. But when we try to minimize the academic elements in order to reduce their stress or prevent burnout, and let's remember that not all stress is bad. Some temporary low levels of stress are absolutely okay and even beneficial in some circumstances. What I have seen is that it can sometimes then minimize or even embarrass those students who do care, who do want good results and do want to work hard, those who do value the academic side and, yes, the results, the letters, the numbers on the page. And they end up feeling wrong for wanting top results. They question themselves when all of the celebrities and the teenage experts and the media are saying otherwise. And sometimes I also see it dampening the work ethic and the drive of those students who are kind of in the middle, those who are perhaps slightly at risk of becoming more on the slack side. And of course, also for those students who really could use a little bit of G'ing up, let's just say. It's unlikely to help them either. I recently spoke to a friend of mine who has had this experience with her daughter. Her daughter is a good kid. She just doesn't try very hard. And she's happy coasting. And her mum, my friend, was telling me that she would just like to see her putting in a bit more effort, to not just be doing the bare basics for everything. She wants her to be able to see that she could do better than just pass, and was actually feeling pretty frustrated with the school because one of her daughter's teachers was telling her daughter that results don't matter, that she's passing, and this was the part that got to her, that her mum was putting too much pressure on her and she shouldn't listen to her when it came to working hard. I also recently had a consult with a parent of a student in the 10-week program, and she was telling me that she'd enrolled her daughter because her daughter really wanted to do well. She was wanting to push herself, but she wasn't really being pushed to her potential at school. And they would both be asking if there was any extra practice that she could do, or if there were any other exercises or books that would be helpful or good for her to read. And they were both always being told that, hey, it's fine, don't worry, she's doing fine. It wasn't the mum pushing her or putting pressure on. She was just being supportive that her daughter wanted to do more and figured that it wouldn't be detrimental for her daughter to do more, and that they both wanted her to do more than just be fine. Now, of course, I'm only getting one side of the story each time here, and these are just a couple of stories that stand alone. And I also know that for many parents, just getting their teen to be passing or to be fine would be great. And I also know that some students don't respond well to being pushed, and they actually flourish when they are left much more to their own devices. Like I said earlier, this is all extremely nuanced and individual, and every student, parent, and teacher is different. And I have no doubt that everyone is coming from a caring place and wants the very best for any teen. But I wonder whether we have all gotten a little bit too scared to push anyone too far for fear that we might be accused of doing damage, or even indeed actually doing damage. But for me, constantly saying or putting out the message that results don't matter doesn't feel like the most positive or indeed the healthiest path either. In sport, for example, we absolutely talk about how it's the taking part that counts. And the end score isn't the be-all and end-all. It's how we play. It's the sportsmanship. It's the teamwork. But we still play to win. We do still compete. Otherwise, it would all just kind of feel a little bit pointless. We'd just be running around or passing a ball for no real reason. And that doesn't feel great either. Do we really want to create a life where there is no pressure, no stress because we set no challenge or never push ourselves? We only have pressure or stress when something bad was to happen to us. And even if the actual results aren't important, and remember, we've considered here that actually nothing is all that important if we really think very deeply about life, we can still play to win for the fun, for the purpose, the pride, and the feel-good of doing that, or even the feel-good of the win when we get one. There is value from the experience of doing your best and putting in effort. And we say we want students to have a good work ethic, and we see teenagers getting a bad rap for being lazy, but then we're also telling them things like results don't matter. And yes, there are other things in life that teenagers can absolutely be putting their effort into instead. Their sports, their hobbies, music, clubs, other interests, and that is great. But I don't see them being told publicly or repeatedly, and certainly not in the club itself, that that thing actually doesn't matter. And let's face it, there are ways that academic results do matter. And these are both the tangible ways and those intangible ways. So the practical or tangible reasons why results do, or at least can, matter are things like needing certain results to get into certain courses or universities. Now, yes, there are bridging courses. Yes, there are so many different pathways these days, that phrase we hear all of the time, and those are true. Those are fact. But the alternatives, those bridging courses and those different pathways, are almost always longer and therefore also more costly, which means giving more money to the uni, taking on more student debt, and at least another year or two to get into doing the thing that you want to do. And although we could argue that those things don't really matter either, they are something. Time and money is not nothing. There is a consequence to this. It doesn't mean that these things are more important than your teen's mental health or having a positive life experience, but they're not nothing. And when you are 30 years old and you need that extra 20 or 30 grand to be putting into the deposit for your first property, getting on that property ladder, it matters. Another tangible reason that results matter is that good results create more future options. And I know that I am stating things here that you already know, but bear with me because I think it's important to make some of these points amongst this discussion. If a student doesn't need certain results for the career that they want right now, that's all good. If they stick to that same career for the rest of their life, which is less and less likely these days. I actually went and looked this up, and research says that most people will go through between 3 to 7 career changes in their life. And maybe none of them will need them to have higher grades. And maybe they will. My sister is actually a perfect example of this. Now, she is naturally super smart. She was the kid that teachers would say talks too much in class, but then still goes and gets an A. So yes, an annoying student to the teachers and to me, who was sitting doing hours and hours of homework, doing all the things. And when she left college at 18 I think she probably got about the same results as me. I'm actually not even sure. I had 3 Bs and 1 A in my A levels, but I can tell you she did it with very little to no effort, whereas I was in the library doing revision, working super hard the whole time. She didn't want to go to uni, and she came out of college and went to work at I want to say art gallery. It was more like a unique art shop, a big shop. It sold art, but it called itself a gallery. And then she went to work in the marketing and design department for the Birmingham Royal Ballet. As you can tell, we were very different, me and my sister, growing up. And then when she was about, I think, maybe 26 or 27, she decided to, wait for it, she decided that she wanted to become a vet. Not as in take a vocational vet course, a vocational training course, an actual medical animal veterinary surgeon. Because when she'd met her partner a couple of years before, he had a dog which he'd adopted from a rescue centre. And when they were living together, they fostered dogs from the local rescue centre, which got her into the idea of becoming a vet. And of course, B grades were not going to cut it to get into vet school. So she had to go back and retake some of her A levels to get them up to A's, which of course she did because she's smart, but not without paying for them all at adult education rates and having to spend an extra year on top of the 5 years of actual veterinary study to do it. So yes, it worked out fine. And did the results really matter back at the age of 18? In some ways, no, because she still got to be a vet. But would she have rather go straight to vet school once she decided? Yes. Having our best possible results is not the only route or path to future careers, but it does give us our best range and fastest paths of options. So tangibly, Better results mean less money spent, less time spent, and more options. But of course, there are also those less tangible ways that results can matter. And arguably, these might be considered to be the most important. Things like the experience of having a goal and working towards it. Whether or not we achieve it, there is value in that. And let's face it, also actually having the goal and working towards it in the first place is going to mean it's a lot more likely that we will achieve that thing. I don't know anyone who didn't set out to become a doctor and then just somehow became one, or who never actually decided or trained to run a marathon, but it just ended up happening. Big things do require intention and attention. Which brings me to the conflict in the messages that I see being currently pitched to teens. At the exact same time as being told results don't matter, the other current trend right now is to tell kids to dream big, that you can do anything you want if you put your mind to it. And again, I am all up for that. But you know what? To achieve big things, you likely need to work hard. You will likely at some point feel under pressure or have some healthy and productive levels of stress. And if you want to become a doctor or a vet or a programmer for Google or an astronaut or any other specialist career, you are going to need good grades. And then the other buzzword at the moment is resilience. Building resilient teens. Again, nothing wrong with it. I'm all up for both of those, dreaming big and building resilience. But I actually went and Googled the definition of resilience, and the top result was adapting to difficult or challenging life experiences. And the next one down was to withstand or recover quickly from difficulties. And if we are not pursuing difficult things or rising to challenges, then how do we expect to build resilience or adapt or overcome difficulties? Do we just wait for bad things to happen in order to build resilience? Or do we take control and create our own challenges that will also create big things? If we just do the basics, if we don't push too hard and we just hope that life will work out, then how will our teens achieve big things, live their dreams, or build resilience? In fact, when we try, we create opportunity. We create those big dreams. We open up possibilities. If we don't try, it almost certainly won't happen, whatever that thing is. And it's also okay if we try and it doesn't happen. If we tell ourselves or we advise students not to go after something because there is a chance that it won't happen, we're basically shielding them from disappointment. And I talk a lot about helping students overcome the hurdles that have had them previously experiencing disappointing results. So I don't want to confuse anyone with my messages here and what I'm sharing. Yes, I want to turn around those disappointing results for students, because the problem there is when your teen gets a disappointing result but doesn't really know why or doesn't know what to do differently next time. That's where my training and insights come in, because just being disappointed time and time and time again and nothing changing does result in long-term loss of confidence or self-belief. But I don't believe that the answer is to just decide that the results don't matter. I prefer to teach students strategies to up-level their results if they want to, rather than have them give up and go along with that narrative that the results don't matter anyway, whilst they are also still likely holding on to the feeling that they failed, that they weren't good enough, or they weren't so smart anyway. Now, if working with the knowledge that results don't matter is the best thing, the most appropriate thing for your teen to do, then of course that is great. But for many students, no matter what they are told, they just don't believe that anyway. And I, for one, agree with them. In some way, shape, or form, results usually do matter. And not just as a number on a page or even as entry to uni, but for all of those intangible reasons as well, or even instead. And as well as there being consequences of results mattering too much, I think there are consequences of telling students that they don't matter at all. I think we can all agree that the negatives of being too focused on results can be significant. But I also think that right now, it's generally felt that if that comes at the cost of other students not achieving their potential or their work ethic being diluted, their drive being dampened, or even them just feeling embarrassed or not supported in going for better grades, then it's felt that that's okay because those consequences are not as drastic. And maybe each individual one is not as drastic. But I know that so many of you have teens who do want to achieve, who just want to do their best and work hard. And if we put all of those together, then I think that is pretty significant. And even though I've been thinking about this a lot more lately, it occurred to me when I was considering putting together this episode that even way back when I first set up Rock Solid Study, I still was considering the idea of both, because I kind of evolved the tagline for the aim of Rock Solid Study to be helping students achieve their best ever results and to enjoy the journey along the way. And I even followed it with a sentence in brackets afterwards that says, and I'm very much about the and, achieving their best ever results and enjoying the journey along the way. And I think I was onto something with that emphasis on the and. I still use that tagline. So instead of operating at or focusing on the extremes, can we make space for the idea that the results don't matter and also that they do matter? Can it be okay for those students who want to go for top results to go for them with support and encouragement rather than bombarding them with, don't worry, the results don't really matter? Personally, and this is just me personally, I think we could do better in finding ways to encourage students who are going after results in a healthy and sustainable way. Because results can matter or even do matter. And that is not the same as saying results are everything. I think we can work to build awareness to not exclude one for fear of the other. I think it's okay for students to hold the idea that just like almost anything in life, the results don't matter and that they still want to get their best possible results. And I am here to support any student who is on that same wavelength. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you back here next week. If you're ready to have your teen achieve their best possible results with less stress, then I want to invite you to enroll them in the 10-week Grade Transformation Program, where they're going to learn the key concepts, skills, and strategies to catapult their performance in assessments and exams. It's risk-free. They either achieve bigger and better results with a whole lot more confidence in 10 weeks, or we refund you in full. Just head over to www.rocksolidstudy.com/program, and I'll see you there.